Hello, One All. It's my view of My Hero Academia, Chapter 321, From Class A to One for All. And there's just a whole bunch I want to talk about this chapter, but first off, I should really need to talk about this color page, because it's so freaking amazing. Everyone in this vaguely steampunk outfits is building a giant All Might robot. Oh, that's so cool. That's so freaking cool! Though I also think it might be a bit symbolic, it's basically saying all of Class 1A is working together to replace All Might to become the next symbol piece, and Deku by himself couldn't do it. Deku couldn't build this giant fighting robot by himself, and he needs his classmates, he needs their help to actually do it, to become the next symbol piece. All of them together need to be the symbol piece who will, bring peace back to Japan, will basically save the world. And it does make a lot of sense. I've had a big problem with All Might for a very long time, because him being, the one and only symbol of peace, the pillar of peace, the pillar of Japan, was just so utterly flawed as a protection model, because as soon as something would have happened to All Might, Japan would have basically fallen into utter and complete chaos and anarchy, which, that kind of happened. That kind of happened just within a few months of All Might retiring, Japan fell into complete chaos and anarchy. So, yeah, one symbol of peace, very, very bad idea. But Class 1A basically being the symbols of peace, the pillars of peace, all of them together working to save Japan, to ensure peace and prosperity throughout the land. That is a much, much different story, and allows for a bit of redundancy. Even if some of the heroes fall, even if some of Class 1A dies, and the rest of them will pick up the slack, the rest of them will still be able to protect Japan, protect the world from evil villains. Though there's a very good chance I might just be overthinking all of this, so let's get into the actual chapter as we see Kirishima, Ayama, and Invisible Girl handing Dictator over to Endeavor. And I was definitely wondering where they were last chapter, because I feel like each of them would have had some role to play in stopping Deku. Kirishima, I could definitely see him saying something like, "Oh, Deku, the manliest thing of all is relying on your friends, knowing when to ask for help," something like that. Ayama hasn't really talked to Deku all that much, but they had that big talk about what it's like to have a quirk that damages your own body. I feel like that'd be relevant here. Invisible Girl, I don't know if she's ever actually talked to Deku before, but at the same time, she's freaking invisible, and the fourth quirk isn't picking up Class 1A because they're not actually trying to hurt Deku, so she could definitely land a pretty impressive sneak attack against him. That's not the case, but still, that would be interesting. That definitely would be interesting. Also, something I didn't mention in the last couple of videos is that the people Dictator was controlling were hero-hating civilians, which is interesting. Very, very interesting. I thought that was the case, but I wasn't really sure, so I didn't say it, but one hand, this might have just been, coincidental. They're the ones most likely to be walking through streets now that Japan has fallen into a nightmarish hellscape. But on the other hand, this could definitely have been intentional. I feel like it was almost All For One trying to break Deku's spirit, break his will, trying to tell Deku, these are the people you're trying to fight to protect, these are the people you're trying to save, people who don't like you, people that hate you, people who want to bring an end to the age of heroes that you've been trying so hard to become a part of. I don't know, I definitely think there's some possibility there, especially because, the final fight, All For One versus Deku, is going to be a battle of wills, and if Deku's will is just a little bit weak, just a little bit soft, if he starts to doubt himself, he starts to wonder, maybe All For One's right, maybe the society All For One wants to build will be the correct society, will be a better society than one we're living in right now, then that could really weaken Deku and allow All For One to deliver the finishing blow and take him down. I think that was also the point of Lady Nagant, She was the dark side of Hero Society. She was the shadow. She was the part that Deku didn't know about. The part that was forced to kill time and time and time again to protect this symbol of peace, protect this idea that everything is hunky-dory in Japan. But anyway, then Endeavor decides, you know what, let's not bring in Best Jeanist. Let's let Class 1A deal with Deku on their own. And I'm actually kind of curious what would have happened if they had brought in Best Jeanist, because Deku's clothes are really and truly shredded by this point, so yeah, I kind of feel like Best Jeanist wouldn't actually be able to do all that much. I feel like, if he actually tried, Deku would just break his clothes, break his very, very badly damaged clothes, and then he'd be able to, to run away. He'd be naked, but able to run away. Which is actually something I'm very, very curious about. Has anyone ever thought, okay, the best way to fight Best Jeanist is to fight him in the nude, fight him bare naked? Oh, I so want a Best Jeanist spinoff just so I can see that possibility. I definitely don't think it would go all that well because, Best Jeanist has his own clothes, his own material he can use to attack the enemy, but still, that's a very, very strange idea, and some villain might have actually thought it would be a good idea. Villains in this world are usually pretty dumb. Usually pretty dumb. And then Shoto gives a rather interesting argument for why Deku should come back to UA, basically saying, what if All For One attacks while you're away? What if All For One attacks while you're chasing your own shadow, while you're chasing your own tail, trying to figure out exactly where he is? And That would actually make a lot of sense. I mean, UA, I said this before, is basically the center of safety right now. It's where everyone is going to feel safe, to feel secure, and if All For One attacks it, he will utterly destroy, Japan's sensation of safety, and they will fall to their knees. They will worship All For One. It means they can be safe. It means they don't have to fear for their lives anymore. And what's more, like I said, All For One's big goal so far seems to be just to break Deku's spirit, break his will, and if Deku finds out that all his classmates died because he wasn't there to fight alongside them, yeah, I think there's a very, very good chance that might break his spirit and just, destroy him, utterly and completely destroy him. And Deku doesn't really have a good excuse for this, except to say that you can't keep up with me. I absolutely love how the words, your turn, are literally embedded in his body, because it's just a reminder that, this is All For One's declaration of war against him. He's saying, it's your turn, you have to fight me, and if anyone else gets involved, I will kill them. I will slaughter all your friends in front of you. I mean, Deku's mental state isn't great right now. He definitely seems to be a bit in denial, thinking, okay, if I stay away from them, then All For One won't target them. If I stay away from them, then they won't die, and that's just really, really not the case right now. I mean, they're on the front lines here. They're fighting in a freaking war, and sooner or later, they're going to call to the front lines. They're going to fight against All For One's minions in one form or another, and without Deku there to, give them some backup to help guide them, there's a very good chance they could die, maybe even a better chance than if they were fighting alongside Deku. But anyway, then Mineta shows up and attaches his beads to Deku, which, yeah, Deku, you might want to take a very, very long shower after letting Mineta's beads touch you. I'm just saying, man, I'm just saying. And Mineta's words are weird, saying, I fell for you. Is this a declaration of love, or is this like a somewhat bad translation here? Because that wording it's weird. It's really, really weird. But his point, as best I can tell, is that he wasn't a fan of Deku because he was so strong, but for who he was when they were on that ship, surrounded by villains, someone who was terrified and scared, but still kept pushing forward, who worked with his friends to figure out a strategy that would allow all of them to survive. And then he prepares to slingshot himself away from Class 1A to essentially escape, only for Rocket to show up and remind him of back when they first went to go save Bakugo. She was against it because she was afraid of hurting Bakugo's feelings, of hurting his pride, and now she's different. Now she's not afraid of, hurting Deku because she just wants to protect him. She just wants to save him. She's willing to stand up and really say what she feels, even if it means hurting him. And that's some great growth for her. And speaking of the Bakugo rescue mission, oh my god, the Rocket Launch 2.0, the Rocket Launch 2.0, and it is just so much more massive than it was back then, but still, the same basic premise behind it. Basically, Shoto made an ice ramp and allowed them to shoot forward so they can, basically catch Deku's hand, basically reach out to him. Mina's giving a protective cover, I think, so the wind doesn't tear them to pieces. All the class muscles are given a good first push. Shoto's, using his fire to give them a nice acceleration. Uraka is making it anti-gravity, so they don't have to worry about, gravity slowing them down, and they can just go as fast as they freaking want. And then Bakugo's giving it the final push, the final release with everything he has. But just like back then, someone else had to give a helping hand. Someone else had to reach out to grab Deku. It couldn't be Bakugo. This time it had to be the class president. And just seriously, the speed he's moving at is just so terrifying. I mean, his armor is meant for high speeds, and yet it is literally shredding. That is how fast he is going, and somehow Deku is able to handle this without all his limbs basically breaking. Oh, Deku has become a truly terrifying figure. I do love just how utterly surprised he is when Ida's hand reaches his. He's like, Ida, what are you doing here? Which, makes a lot of sense because there is no way on God's green earth that Ida should have been able to keep up with Deku at the speeds he's moving at, the speeds of basically All Might. And his comment about challenging Deku just feels like such a callback to the sports festival, back when he first declared that Deku was his rival and said they couldn't team up with him because they needed to find a way to overcome him on his own. And now here he is, he's finally reached Deku's speed, he's finally reached Deku's hand. Huzzah! And of course, I'm seeing a lot of people online complaining, basically saying, well, just because Class 1A was able to reach Deku doesn't mean they're at his level, doesn't mean they can keep up with him, and of course not. Of course it doesn't mean that. I mean, seriously, Deku is basically as strong and as fast as All Might at this point, and there is no friggin' way that Class 1A is at All Might's level. That would be just utter and complete insanity. Power creep on a scale I have never seen before. But despite the fact they are much weaker than him, they were still able to take out Dictator, the villain that almost killed Deku. And yes, that was because Deku was so tired, but that's the point. We need to let Deku rest. We need to let Deku recover. They can take care of some of the riffraff. They can take care of some of the mercenaries who are coming after Deku, who are trying to capture him and bring him back to All For One. They can let Deku rest, recharge, and get his strength back, so when the time actually comes to have the big final battle against All For One, Deku will be well rested and have much better mental health than he does right now, as he's, basically on the verge of a full and complete mental breakdown. I mean, seriously, when Ida grabs his hand and reminds him what he said back during the Stain arc, because giving help that's not asked for is what makes a true hero. I mean, Deku cried. He burst into tears because he's exhausted. He is broken. He is done. He needs rest. He needs a break. He needs friends he can rely on. Friends who can keep going when he needs a rest, when he needs to recharge, when he needs a shower. He really, really needs a shower, especially after Mineta's sticky balls touch his body. I'm just saying, I would need like 5 showers after that. But anyway, now it seems like they finally reached Deku. They finally reached that lost child and grabbed his hand. Huzzah! Though the concerning thing here is definitely the fact that All For One is probably going to be aware of this. He's going to be aware of what happened, and it's probably going to result in him changing his strategy, and that's definitely going to be concerning. I feel like, the strategy moving forward might be to separate Deku from Class 1A all over again. Basically, instead of having, one mercenary at a time going after Deku, have like 5 of them causing chaos across town and forcing Class 1A to split, forcing Deku to split from his team, from his friends, and go after the villains, or at least go after one villain alone again, while his classmates are dealing with the other 4 villains, and then we're basically back in the same situation. So, yeah, concerning. I mean, All For One has been one step ahead of Deku every step of the way. He knew everything Deku was going to do before he did it, which really, really seems to imply there might be some sort of traitor inside of UA, someone who's met Deku, someone who knows him and knows exactly how he'd react in all these situations. I mean, Invisible Girl definitely seems pretty high up on the list simply because, she's invisible, she can sneak around, she's the perfect spy. Though I also came up with a very, very insane theory after reading Vigilantes that the spy is actually the detective. Yeah, probably not. But let me know what you think all this down below. What's going to happen next? Is Deku going to go back to UA? And if so, what's going to be waiting for him there? I mean, I really, really feel like a lot of his classmates are going to want to punch him, slap him after, he's put them through so much. Oh god, I would absolutely love if when he got back, Eri slapped him and complained and cried that he wasn't there, that she missed him. Oh, that'd be so adorable. That'd be so adorable. And we still need to have the Eri reunion with Overhaul since, Deku said that Overhaul needed to apologize to Eri. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, like I've said many, many times, I really do think that before the series ends, Eri will fix Overhaul's arms so that he can help Deku save the day, stop All For One and Shigaraki. I mean, maybe Overhaul could even separate Shigaraki from All For One. That'd be, very, very helpful. And, oh god, we still have Eraserhead. I feel like his response to Deku coming back is going to be violent. Very, very violent. I am very excited to see that. But let me know what you think all this down below, and until next time, peace!